There are a number of questions I've seen here. A lot of them are draft draft questions. Here's one from Jeremy T. If McCarron becomes an unrestricted free agent, do we draft another quarterback? I absolutely think they do. Absolutely. Now, obviously, they seem to like Jeff Driscoll. There were some things that he did in the preseason that excited people. And athletic, but wasn't when you look at his numbers in college, it's not the type of stuff that, you know, I remember something Bill Parcells, well, part of what something Bill Parcells said, where there's some formula where in a college quarterback, you want to see them have at least over 60% completion percentage in their career, you know, a certain amount of touchdown to touchdown interception ratio and all of that. And if you look at Jeff Driscoll's numbers, it didn't really seem that way. And he bounced around from Florida to Louisiana Tech. And obviously there are ways the Bengals can develop him. I think, though, that the Cincinnati Bengals, especially if they are going to get, if they lose McCarron, then I think that has to be a big priority. Now, what round are we talking? I don't know. I think obviously it depends on who falls to them. I don't think, although this is a very quarterback-heavy draft and a lot of first-round talents in this draft, I don't think that they'll be using one at number 12. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I just don't. I don't see that necessarily happening. But I do think that probably a mid-round prospect is possible. Maybe that same area they drafted McCarron, and maybe it's a guy like McCarron who is a successful quarterback in college, has some perceived shortcomings, but is kind of a bigger name and a project type of guy. But yeah, I think and you've seen them issue trade offers from, you know, reportedly the Cleveland Browns, some lucrative trade offers in an effort to, you know, have a guy on the roster that can come in if Andy Dalton gets hurt and, you know, could potentially lead them to wins and not miss a beat. So I think that is something that they value, and I think they're going to continue to want to do that. I can't say exactly where they would draft one, but maybe a little higher than you think, especially if McCarron goes away there. That was from Jeremy T. Appreciate that question. Connor Williams, Mike McGlinchey, Quentin Nelson, or Orlando Brown at 12. I like Connor Williams, but I think there's been some injury issues there. That's from Brandon Seaman, that question, by the way. I do think offensive line needs to be either the first pick or the second pick. I think that we will probably see, unless the Bengals kind of shock us all, I think that we will probably see the Bengals go offensive line and linebacker in the first and second round, either way. For me right now, I'd like to see them get Roquan Smith, the linebacker out of Georgia. If he falls to them at 12, I'd like to see him there. I think he paired up with Vontaze Burfict and others would be a good pickup. And then there's a UCLA tackle. Name escapes me at the moment, but he should be there in the late first, early second. So he could be a guy that they look at the top of the second round. But yeah, obviously Connor Williams and Mike McGlinchey are two of the best in this year's draft. So you have to figure that those would be probably the picks at number 12 if the Bengals end up going offensive lineman. Now, you know, there's some talk about safety and all of that. You have to figure the Bengals have some serious capital invested in the safety position between George Aloka and Sean Williams. Now, they both had a dip in play from 2016. They both had 3 interceptions each in 2016, 1 interception each this last year. So I see where there's maybe a need there, but I think that those are two well-paid players, and they're going to let them ride out some more of their contract before they move on. Let's see. That again was from Brandon Seaman. Thank you, Brandon. Oh, there was one other here. I liked this one. It was from Slingshot Gaming 911. Who agrees that Mike Brown has to be more aggressive when re-signing or adding more free agents? Cut the bad players that are not helping. Well, yeah, obviously that has to be in any owner's mindset. That has to be the case, and I think we all agree with that. I think where the talking point is here is that going to change? Is that truly going to change this year? And unfortunately, we won't know it until we see it. But you have Mike Brown still there, Katie Blackburn, Troy Blackburn, Marvin Lewis, Duke Tobin. You've got your 4 compensatory picks, which they value so much. I don't know. I don't know if I really I don't know the answer, but if you're to ask me right now, I don't see it changing. I really don't. I mean, maybe a little bit in terms of the free agency side, but I don't really see it changing all that much in terms of what they do in the draft. You have to look at it and say all their figureheads are still there. Everyone who has made these types of decisions are still there. You still have, and that's what worries me about, some people are liking the Marvin Lewis hire a little bit more as time is passing, especially now that he's added some different coaches, but you still have to understand this is a guy who is hesitant to play a lot of rookies. They take a backseat to a lot of veterans. I just don't, excuse me. I don't know what exactly, aside from a couple of coaching changes, I don't know exactly what's going to be different this year. I really don't. That question, of course, I think we would like to see. And when you look at the teams in the championship games, look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did and have done the past couple of years in free agency. Look at what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done in free agency the past couple of years. New England, the rich get richer there. I mean, they got Gillislee, Burkhead, Stephon Gilmore. I mean, the list goes on and on there. And then, Minnesota, they've built more so in the draft, but they've made some moves here and there. You have to supplement the draft with free agency, and you have to supplement it with quality free agency picks. And that's, I think, unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. And Mike Brown, it's almost I've likened it a little bit to a spurned lover, I guess. He got burned on the Antoine Odom thing. He got burned on the Lavernius Coles thing. He got burned a little bit on the Terrell Owens thing. And now it's kind of more bargain hunting. It's, get former big names who maybe used to be pretty good and either fell out of favor with a team or, what have you. I think that he needs to, Mike Brown, if he is the one who's truly making these types of decisions, he needs to kind of get over that. I mean, you need to get over it. And I see Sean Slaughter with a comment here. It's not how much you spend in free agency, it's how you spend it. Correct. That's totally correct. But Sean, when you look at, let's look at the Jaguars, for instance. Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson, AJ Bouye, Barry Church, Tashawn Gibson. These are guys that they've added the past 2 seasons. The Bengals this year added Kevin Minter, and I mean, I mean, Chris Smith was a trade, and he was okay. But Calais Campbell, all pro. AJ Bouye, all pro. Other, Malik Jackson, Pro Bowler this year. These are moves you need to make. Now, the Bengals don't have that kind of space that the Jaguars had. I understand that. But if Philadelphia Eagles, Alshon Jeffrey, other Chris Long, other guys that re-signed Brandon Graham, you have to keep your core players and your best players, and you have to go out and add supplemental pieces and not pieces that, yes, Kevin Minter was a starter. Yes, Brandon LaFell has been a starter, but I agree. You don't want to sit here and be in salary cap hell, and that's the point I think that Sean is trying to make, and it's obviously a valid one. But you also don't want to keep wallowing in mediocrity, and you also, I think, to be honest with you, fans are already pretty lackadaisical, I guess, is a nice way to put it. In terms of this team right now, 2 straight losing seasons. Marvin Lewis is back. They're not really enamored with what's going on with this team right now. And then if you hire the same people back, you hire Marvin back, all of a sudden, you kind of go in your old ways in free agency. And not that you don't dictate how you operate necessarily on fans' wants and needs, but you do dictate some of what you do on ticket sales and everything like that. I think that you're going to lose a lot of fans if you sit around and don't really improve the team in free agency, whether it's at linebacker, offensive line, wide receiver, safety, whatever. You're going to lose more interest from the fans this year, and that's not good. But we'll see. I think they might be a little bit more proactive in free agency, but I don't expect massive changes. And unfortunately, there's this thing that the Bengals always talk about that I never hear any other team talk about, and that is this rookie surplus thing, this cushion that they have for the rookie pool. And they pump that out there. It's usually through Jeff Hobson, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because he's a good guy and he has to be kind of the megaphone of the team. But they put that out there with him, and no other team. I've never seen other teams, pump that out there to their fan base and to the public as to why they aren't getting starting caliber players in free agency. I don't understand it. So again, that's one of the changes, and thank you for that comment and question from another listener. I think there'll probably be slight changes, but as of now, I don't expect wide sweeping changes in terms of how they operate. We'll see. There are a number of different things they could do that would be massively changing how they've operated, whether it's drafting a quarterback in the first round, whether it's doing more in free agency, trading up to get more quality players and or needed positions in the draft, whatever the case may be. Those would be the major wide sweeping changes. I don't see really any of that happening, though, unfortunately. We'll see. Thanks for joining, guys. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate all the questions. Again, you can get in touch with the program on email, theobinsider@gmail.com, and Twitter @BengalsOBI. You can download the program on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, as well as get it on cincyjungle.com and get all of our material on all of those platforms.